Okay. I'm better. That's not saying I'm better. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I'll call the Harrison County Commission meeting for for December 11th to order. If you will rise and join us in the invocation pledge, please.
Heavenly Father, I just come to you with an open heart, knowing that you, Lord, are love. And with your love, we find joy. And particularly today, we pray for one of our members of our staff today that's leaving us and hopefully not going for long. We love her, we adore her, we ask you for peace and kindness in her life. And let this Christmas season, everyone remember exactly why we're here and what we're here for, and that's to love one another. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam President, at this time, I'd like for Hazel Rader to come in to the commission hearing room. Give her just a second.
If she doesn't refuse. Look at Tim. He doesn't know what he's, oh.
Hazel. This ain't funny. This ain't funny at all.
That's not
supposed to be. Yeah.
So I know Hazel's want to kill me, but it's worth it. I'm sorry. I could not let a tenured employee with over 29 years of service not get recognized. You have been a staple to so many departments around here. I mean, from the commission office to maintenance, everything in between. You have always been a source of information for, it doesn't matter if it's the courts, if it's county clerk, if it's assessor's office, you always knew the answer, knew where to get it. So. Hazel. Celebrating your many years of service to the Harrison County Commission. Thank you for your loyalty and dedication. Your valuable contributions ensure your legacy as an integral part of this organization. I know you're not leaving us forever. You'll be back, so we'll still see you around, but it's going to be hard not to see you on a daily basis, and we wish you the best. Oh, Hayes.
Oh, and Hazel, everyone can go in there after the meeting for Hazel's retirement. That means I can leave it.
Hazel, what's she gonna do for me?
Right.
Putting you through this, you ought to be able to do that, right? That's right.
Thank you.
She will be missed. I know she'll be here, but she has been a staple around here for many years. Okay, public comment. Is there anyone signed up to speak publicly?
There's not.
Okay. Anyone on Zoom wish to speak publicly? Anyone on Zoom wish to speak publicly? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 2, consent agenda. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 3, payroll change notices. We have one. Motion to approve payroll change notice A, 3A. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 4, minutes and or amended minutes of previous meetings. We have A, B, C, and D. What's the pleasure?
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve minutes A through D as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carried. Number 5, requisitions, purchase orders, invoices A through C. Motion to approve requisitions A through C. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 6, exonerations, corrective tickets, joint property applications. We only have exonerations, it appears. Okay, what's the pleasure? Motion to approve 6A. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 7, consideration of approval of a project fund requisition for the payment of costs associated with the project to be financed from proceeds of the Series 2019 bonds issued for the Charles Point Economic Opportunity Development District Series 2021 A and B Development District Number 3, White Oaks Project Number 2, and Series 2008 A Charles Point A through C. Motion to approve 7A through C. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 8, review, discuss, and consider MOU agreeing to obligate ARPA funds previously designated as revenue replacement. New federal guidelines require all revenue replacement funds to be obligated to a specific project or used by December 31st, 2024. A legal agreement must exist showing such obligations. The Harrison County Commission previously allotted $983,690 to revenue replacement. And of that amount, $800,000 was specifically designated to be used for the North Rail Trail North Bend Connector Project 2/22/22 at the February 22nd, 22 commission meeting. The remaining $183,690,000 was not officially designated, but potential uses discussed were the construction of the animal control facility or the agriculture barn. Obligations must be specific amounts for each project, regardless of the use. All funds must be spent by December 31st, 2026.
I'd like to make a motion that 100,000 go to animal control and 83,690 go to the agricultural barn.
So if I may, on the agreement, I actually changed it a little bit. The 800,000 will go to the rail trail, which is great because we have a contract in place for that and there's work being done on that section and we're getting the grant and all of that. The other portion, we do need to have, it will be cleaner and easier if we have a contract in place for whatever we obligate that to. And we do have a contract with McKinley. So the wording that I have on the agreement that I'd like you to sign, the MOU, is to pay expenses incurred under the McKinley contract for land study uses, survey, engineering, construction, administration, et cetera, everything that's in their contract for the animal control facility and the land that the animal control facility will be on. It's broad that way. Do you see what I'm saying? That way it encompasses just what you're saying. It's just specific to what McKinley will be doing for us.
So you're saying to put it all on there?
Well, because we have a contract with McKinley.
But I thought we've talked to McKinley about doing a study.
We have, that's it.
For not only the animal.
Exactly. That's
So-
exactly the point. That the feasibility study then would, or the master plan would be covered. We would be able to use these funds for that, which would include the agricultural barn.
Okay.
Under the McKinley contract
Right.
that's already in place.
Right.
Are we able to do that even though we don't own the property yet?
So here's my answer to that. I think the guidance is new. We used to be able to report revenue replacement simply as revenue replacement on our quarterly reports. And in November, there was new guidance that said, since all funds have to be obligated by December 31st, even revenue replacement has to be obligated. We haven't spent any of our revenue replacement money so far. So I'm going to have to set up some sort of project or obligation within that reporting that shows how we're going to spend it. And that's why we have to have this MOU. There has to be some kind of legal agreement between the commission, even if it's between the commission and the commission or the commission and the county administrator saying, here's what we're going to do. And Trey actually found the template that we used and he reviewed you know, how I changed it. So I think he's probably okay with everything. If he's not, I'm sure he'll tell us. But that's, you know, the MOU is a document we definitely need to have in place for reporting purposes.
And it's just obligating it.
It's
not-
obligating, right? If for some reason, the obligation just keeps us from being able to change our minds in 6 months. Oh, we don't want to use it for this. We're gonna go over here and buy another parking lot. We won't be able to do that. But if a deal falls through, if something that we are relying upon falls through, then yes, I think we would be able to go back and like petition to change how we would use those funds. If something extreme happens to a project we have planned and we can't do that project, yes, I think that we will be able to find something else to obligate those funds on, but
So
we're not going to be able
can
to just change our
Can
minds.
we obligate it to the purchase of the property?
We probably could.
I'd
So
rather do the study.
if I may, I
Before we
believe,
have to spend the money. I'm just trying to figure out.
so I believe
So
the way
what's the-
that Michelle has worded it with this, with it being a little vague and under the McKinley contract, it doesn't matter where they do the work, whether it's on Saltwell or another location we might be looking at, it will cover a study being done or any of these things, even though we don't own property if we're looking at a piece of
Right.
property.
And we're just obligating. It's not like we're signing a
Yeah,
contract. and it's-
And you do have a contractual interest. We've entered into a LOI on that parcel and you are starting the due diligence process. The LOI contemplated delivery within 15 days of a proposed purchase agreement to the seller. It has been delivered to the seller at this point.
They received $50,000.
They have received the $15,000. That's in trust with the seller's law firm.
So I guess where I'm confused with McKinley, we hired them to design the building and the facility. And we've now asked them to look at a rough draft of what could be used for this property. But we don't have an amount for that, or if we amended that contract.
No, there's, the conversation is just I think we discussed it the last meeting we had. There was nothing set in stone. It was just
We
a
don't have
discussion.
anything, we don't have
They were gonna come
anything,
back to. us.
right, and they're preparing that. Laura and I had a conversation not too long ago with with the project manager. And that's what he is currently doing, is preparing that study for us, for a proposal.
For a proposal of what
Right.
it would be and for the best place for the animal control facility. On said location.
And other potential
Right.
areas of said location that are usable.
But we can just commit the 183 straight for the building for animal control.
Absolutely, if that's,
Plus,
Bless you.
bless you.
I mean, we're still short funding there, correct? We think.
Probably a little, but
We believe. Well, yes, we are short a little bit of funding, and we could designate it just for the building. We didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves.
right.
That's why we had it broad, whether it's for the building or for a study or whatever. That's the reason it was written the way it is.
I just worry about for any studies that we are pinning ourselves to one company and we didn't give anybody else the opportunity.
Well, for these, oh, I see what you're saying. I don't, I'm sure you understand contract law probably better than I do. But it is, what we are having them do does pertain to the contract they signed with the animal control facility.
Yeah,
The survey
I
work
understand
and
we're
such.
having them to look, make sure that it fits and that works, but ultimately, that's still gonna come out. Susan, I just think you pledged the 183,690 to.
It doesn't matter. I can, whatever.
And just,
As long as we get a study done, that's all I want to see happen.
so,
I don't care who does it. I'm not here to pick one person.
so I retract my motion that the $183,690 goes to animal control.
And to sign the agreement, the
And
MOU.
the proper people fix their signatures to the agreement.
Okay, the motion has been made to allocate the whole $183,690 to the animal control shelter. For the purchase of the property or for the building?
Just for the building.
Okay, for the building. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Number 9, review, discuss, consider merger of Lake Floyd PSD into Sun Valley PSD. We have A, accept resignation letters from Lake Floyd board members. B, appoint Sun Valley board members as interim board for Lake Floyd during merger process. C, review and approve the attached draft order proposing the merger. And D, setting a date for public hearing. Hearings must be 20 days out from the order. Did you want to speak to this, David?
Thank
Mr. Glover?
I guess I'm here on behalf of both Public Service District, Lake Floyd and Sun Valley. Last time we were up here, we said we were going to begin the public hearing process for both Lake Floyd PSD customers and for Sun Valley PSD customers. We accomplished that this fall. First up was Lake Floyd. We had a public meeting on the proposal that Lake Floyd merge into Sun Valley. 5 people showed up and all of them were in support of it, and basically had questions about their bills and where to send them. And that's where it got this resignation started. Sun Valley had their meeting here recently and nobody showed up. Everybody, there's no calls coming in. Everybody seems to be in favor of this. And as you all know, back in November of 2021, Sun Valley entered into a services agreement, with Lake Floyd, which was approved by the Public Service Commission, basically where they've run Lake Floyd PSD for basically 3 years now. So, and I'm not going to speak to the accounting part because that's Zach Dobbin, but as I understand it, and as I heard at the meeting, you had Sun Valley doing the billing for them, collecting, and then you also had Lake Floyd trying to help collect some old debt, and nobody knew where to go, and Lake Floyd board members wanted out. So the cleanest way to do this, since they've basically Sun Valley's been running it for 3 years now, was in the interim for Lake Floyd Public Service District board members, Roger Gay and Chairman Steve Turner, to resign. And that way everything's turned over to Sun Valley Public Service District. I don't anticipate any headaches at Charleston with PSC. This appears it's going to go through. And it's just a matter of getting the final piece together by them resigning and asking the commission to appoint the current board members of Sun Valley Public Service District as interim board members of Lake Floyd until the merger is finally approved. And as far as the notice, a requirement of the Public Service Commission when we start doing this process is have everything up until this point now. And now we're asking the commission to abide by the rules and regulations of the Public Service Commission to enter an order proposing the merger and to hold a public hearing. And the public hearing, per the Public Service Commission rules, has to be a minimum of 20 days out from the day you sign this order. So if you signed it today, for instance, and I have a cleaner copy of the order, which has still been a blank or two that I present today. If the order signed today proposing the merger and setting a public hearing, the hearing can be no less than 20 days from today, which puts us at the first of the year, January 2nd, and no more than 40 days out from today, which puts us around January 20th. So the county commission needs to hold a public hearing somewhere between January 2nd and January the 20th. Any day you all want to do it. Like I said, I anticipate it'll be brief.
Right.
I don't know of any opposition to this, so that needs done today so we can get that done. And then after that, county commission formally approves the merger, and then we go to Charleston Public Service Commission. That's the last step.
Why don't we go ahead and approve then A through D and just schedule a public hearing at 9 a.m. on the 8th, which is our first meeting of the year.
That works. That works.
Okay.
May we do like 9:10? I believe we need to do organizational matters as the very first action of the county commission on that first meeting.
Question.
Yeah.
It's the holidays. I just want to make sure it's not missed. Who is expected to post the order, assuming it passes in 5 places in the district? And who's going to take care of the public notice for the hearing? Is the commission going to do that, or are the bodies going to do that?
Take care of it. It's totally,
That'd be great. Just
Yeah.
want to make sure it's done.
because we could use the same places we used out in the area, what we did, and then it has to be 10 days. The notice has to be in the Exponent Telegram 10 days before. What day did you pick?
January 8th.
January 8th.
What's the 2-week waiting period? Is that on their resignations or is that, I'm trying to read what was in their minutes. Inform both boards that there is a 2-week waiting period. So the first public hearing regarded that would not happen until the first of the year.
I think they're talking about the 20-day.
You're probably talking about the 2040
Yeah.
rule in the statute.
Correct.
Be my belief.
That's what I wasn't there at the meetings, but that's what I'm guessing they were talking
Yeah.
about.
I'd prefer if you all post, because you're more familiar with the districts and the public places. We don't need somebody out there trying to find public places to post.
And that's fine. I can take care of that.
Great.
And if I may just clarify, it would be 10/10 on January 8th, since our meetings begin at 10 a.m.
So Trey, I'm still looking at their minutes. They want us to give them permission to have their board members added to the bank accounts. I'm trying to understand why we would be doing that. It's in their minutes, their meeting.
Yeah, I don't think we can control the internal affairs of how they operate, but that's not what the order approves today.
I know, I'm trying to understand what they think this orders. When I look at their minutes, I'm trying to read through where they approved that. They made a motion that we do this, but they also tied a motion that we give them access to the bank accounts. And I just want to make sure that they understand that we're approving this for them to become those interim board members, that we're not involved in the banking part.
Yeah, I would just make that clear in your motion. And I'm not aware of any requirement that the county commission approve of that. Dave, are you?
Approve
Of the issue Commissioner Hinkle was raised, the bank account issue. And once they're board members, they would vote on who's on their account. They would prepare a resolution. They would take the resolution to the bank.
I mean, are they gonna close Lake Floyd's bank account and have their own?
They're,
Probably sweep into,
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
This is all things I'm trying to figure out for the.
but it can't sweep in until the PSC has, I wouldn't think, until the
Oh, that's-
PSC is final, correct?
Correct. And as I understand it, Lake Floyd's basically turned all their books and records over to Sun Valley. And so Sun Valley is concerned when they start getting the checks in, they can't put them in a Sun Valley, or excuse me, in a Lake Floyd account because they're not on the account. So I think by just accepting the resignation of the 2 board members from Lake Floyd and approving the 3 Sun Valley to be interim, that should take care of any approval requirement from the commission.
Cause this is just to go on the board. This has nothing to do with the checking account
No,
or bank account.
right.
Well, but no, these guys will have to write the checks. These new guys.
Well,
But that's nothing. We don't have anything in that.
I wouldn't think so, no.
No, I wouldn't think so.
I think-
I guess, I don't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Glover.
Okay, I'll just say no.
But the question I would ask is, why are we going ahead and addressing the board members when the PSC process isn't finalized? Is that what your question is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand where we got a bunch of people resigning, we're putting new pointing an interim board that could be there 1 month, 2 month, or a year. That's gonna run both PSDs.
I don't want to speak for Steve Turner and Roger Gay, but I think they just want, they want it done.
I get it's like an effective date question, right? So when is it effective?
So I guess my question is, and I don't know what good policy, I've never been involved in one of these, is whether or not because we never did this with Coons Run and appoint another board to Coons Run or any interim board when they all left. So I guess that's my question is, do we appoint the same people that are running the one to run the other one? And that they're gonna have to take over all that responsibility, liabilities. Under the answer, because ultimately these appointments that answer back to the commission because we appoint them.
Well, why don't we consider accepting the resignations effective on the completion of the PSC process? I understand they want to be done. They're probably trying to tie it to a calendar year as opposed to a
Fiscal
public
year.
fiscal year, but people think that's the
Exactly.
public fiscal year, so I get that. But why doesn't the commission just tie the effective dates to a PSC approval? Does that make sense? And I know the board members want done, but you could accept their resignations effective.
I mean, that would make more sense to me.
And that moves the project we want to do.
Right.
That's fine. If they don't agree, they can come back up here.
They
I'm
can.
not, I apologize for arguing their thought process on this. I wasn't involved in that. I was just coming up here on the,
No, there's no
Okay.
argument.
nobody else could come today, and I was here on the order in this public notice.
So my recommendation would be that you all approve the order, and as to the resignations, you accept the resignations effective and contingent upon the PSC approval of the merger.
And I'm not gonna make that my motion because they can resign today with or without us. So it's irrelevant. We're creating mud. So my motion is as stated, to approve APP as written and presented by Mr. Glover, and we move forward.
And we're setting a hearing date on January 8th at 10:10 a.m.
Right. Well, we can do what you guys want to do, but then they can say, hey, we retired, resign.
Well, I don't argue that, Patsy, but I think then if we have to, we can appoint some either other interim members. I'm not real sure I like the mix of the two till.
Then you guys make your, I have my motion, Susan call it, and then if David wants another motion, fine, good.
Okay. Commissioner Treecost's motion is to approve A through B,
No, you said A through D, didn't you, Patsy?
A through D, I'm sorry. Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
No.
No. Okay,
I don't want to have to repeat Trey's motion, because I'm gonna go by Trey's motion, but I'm gonna say that on A, we accept resignation letters from the Lake Floyd members, board members upon completion of the PSD or the PSC filings for combining the two PSDs, and approve C, review and approve the attached draft order. And for Laura to set a public hearing date 20 days from the order.
okay, I'm not going to attempt to repeat that. Is everybody okay if I don't repeat that? Do you think we understand what's going on? This
Trey,
doesn't
that work?
affect the public hearing in any way, does it?
No.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Trey, do we need to specify in David's motion that the public hearing set for January 8th at 10:10? Because by doing it from 20 days out from, excuse me, the order, I don't think that exact 20 days lands on January 8th.
It's between 20 and 40 days.
Right. So I just asked for clarification, that way.
You
it's
just
clear.
pick a date and I'll add it.
January 8th at 10 a.m.
Motion's been made to adjust for January 8th.
8th.
It's
10.
10
The public hearing.
for the public hearing.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Glover. Number 10, review, discuss, consider access and remediation letter agreement for A, Megan Wilson, Chubb Run Road, and B, Robert Court Vine Street.
Madam President, if I might make a correction, please, before Charlotte, the Director of Planning, speaks, it would be Megan Wilson is actually at Vine Street and Robert Court is at Chubb Run Road.
Somebody needs to.
This is an agreement with the owners of the properties for us to tear down the structure that is on their property. They are in agreement with us, and they said that we can do that.
How many properties have we torn down this fiscal year?
44.
Wow.
44 from the county.
Wow.
Quit telling anything. Somebody's gonna do it.
But when it's all done, fiscal
What's that,
year,
Patsy?
I want to quit telling anybody. This is the other counties figure out what we're doing. They're gonna jump in.
Well, don't tell them where we're getting the money.
Tell me, quit
Yeah.
that.
if you're gonna do a fiscal year, by the time I'm done, it's probably gonna be about 88.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we only have 300 go. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking
Are you sure that's it?
No.
about-
Mm-mm.
It's double that.
Probably 3 times that, but okay. I'll make a motion to approve the remediation letter agreement for Meg Wilson and Robert Court.
Motion's been made to approve the remediation agreement for Megan Wilson and Robert Court. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thanks, Charlotte. Thank you. Number 11, review, discuss, consider temporary easement agreement between Harrison County Commission and Hope Gas. We already discussed that. Thought this was, we talked about this before. Or was it a different one?
So we've had different crossing agreements before with Dominion. This arose in early December. Dominion showed up, I think it was December 3rd, in the field, ready to work near the rail trail. And we said, let's put a bare bones agreement together, which makes sure you all remediate the property. I'll just ask you to
I
approve.
think the last one that we did was Crater Harrison, gave them the right to go down along the rail trail. I don't
We
think it
gave
was the
Sun
gas-
Valley,
Okay, I
Yeah,
knew there was,
Sun
I knew.
we
there
gave
was-
Sun
Sun
Valley
Valley,
the
I knew it
right.
was one of
Okay, I knew there was something in.
But we did give Dominion a crossing agreement before, closer to the Lost Creek area.
Yeah.
So where's this one located?
This one is located near, I believe it's closer to Hype Field along the trail, but in that southern section, they had an old station which they wanted access to, and they were out there in the field and they called the county and we said, don't go out there until we get something in place to make sure you're gonna fix the area, and that's what this is. It was candidly kind of rushed because they were out there in the field, but they've been good partners before.
Move to approve the temporary easement agreement between Harrison County Commission and Hope Gas.
And I fixed the necessary.
Fix the necessary signatures.
Okay. Motion is to approve the temporary easement agreement between Harrison Commission and Hope Gas and fix the appropriate signatures. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 12, review, discuss, consider releasing 2 active deeds of trust for Orpha Webster property.
Trey, do you want to explain it? Because you've done so much research on this.
Sure. These were presented to us by an owner in Harrison County, and her family members had passed away and she was trying to get these released so that she can sell the property. In the early 1990s, the county commission was involved as a funding, call it pass-through entity, related to a number of funding mechanisms and loans in the county. We have tried to contact the Clarksburg Harrison Regional Housing Authority because the county used to have its own housing authority, which merged into Clarksburg Harrison Regional. They don't have any files which they can locate in their system for this transaction. And they do believe, I've asked them also for program documents because the program documents might speak to how long the liens lasted for. They believe they were fixed term deeds of trust and that they were forgiven if certain conditions were met, but they can't find anything on that. We also spoke with Mr. Ramsey. He was the attorney at the time for the commission. He filled me in on sort of the housing program, but again, no documents can be found on this. Given these realities, my recommendation is that you all agree to release or waive the deeds of trust, and you ask the seller, the Orpha Webster heir, to have a document prepared by the bank to release or disclaim those deeds of trust. I can't find anything definitive one way or the other. There are a number of documents in the county clerk's office where an entire series or program of similar documents were released following this time period.
And one of those was, right?
One of these was, yes.
No,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, but we've tried to really exhaust and understand what we can, but it's hard to go back that far. Rhonda Lindsay was very informative, very helpful at Clarksburg Harrison Regional. And she went to storage to try to find something, but couldn't find it. But again, I put the burden on the seller to bring you a document. There's no reason for you to pay for me to draft it.
so you want a document drafted saying,
Well, to sell the houses, the buyer and the seller, there's probably a bank involved. And I would ask, well, but they're going to want something recorded of record. I would just ask that they prepare what they want for your all's consideration to release these instruments.
so you want them to write up a release on the deeds of trust?
Yeah, I mean, I can do one. We have one in the file. The last one we did was Mr. Thrasher out there by the airport.
I guess my question is it better we do it?
I can do it. If you
So
all
we
want me
know
to.
that it's where it's at and how it was done?
I have Elliot Thrasher's release in this file already, and we can
I mean,
just,
you would review whatever they would prepare.
I would, but I just didn't, if there was financing involved, my thought was the bank might want something specific for the
Okay.
transaction. That was my thought. And I don't know what their transaction is.
Let the bank do. For the bank's attorneys.
So the motion is to release the 2 active deeds of trust on the Ofra Webster property. And for the owner to draft a release for the commission to put on file
And record, yes.
and record. Okay.
Okay. As stated by Commissioner Hinkle, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carried. Number 13, review, discuss, consider request to travel for Peggy Bailey from OEM to go to 2025 Planning Summit at Stonewall Resort on January 29th and 30th. It's a pleasure.
Motion allow, thank you.
Motion for approval of the travel to Stonewall for Peggy Bailey on 29th and 30th of January. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 14,
Madam President, as we know that there was a power outage over at the courthouse this morning, so we are still working through that. Power has been restored, but there have been some issues that have arose from that. So after the commission meeting, I'll go over and meet with the judges and, see what we can do to remedy that situation. All the offices are busy decorating for the Christmas decoration contest, which will be judged on December 20th. So if you haven't, please make your way around to the different offices because they've really got creative. It's pretty interesting to see. And that is all I have for today.
Commissioner Treecost? Mr. Hinkle?
No, ma'am.
I have nothing.
I should jump in.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Ah,
Any opposed?
I don't want to
Motion
go back
carried.
outside right there.